In this video, we will continue to practice using the properties of similar triangles to find unknown angles and sides. In this case, x, y, and z. So we are given a similarity statement, which is nice because that way I know that side AB and side ED are corresponding sides just because of the order of the letters in the similarity statement. So here is side AB and here is side ED. Those are corresponding. Now, I also know that side BC and DC are corresponding. So I'm going to use a different shape. So here's BC and here's DC. Okay, so at a glance you might have thought that x and 2y minus 3 are corresponding, but they're not. And then finally we have AC and EC. Okay, so here's AC and here's EC. And they are corresponding. So, okay. So notice how notice how angle B is between the circle and the square. Notice how angle D is between the circle and the square. So that means that angle B and angle D are corresponding. You know what? I knew they were corresponding because of the order of the letters. So I'm saying too much information. So anyway, angle D is 71. Okay. Similarly, I know that angle A and angle E are corresponding because they're both first. So if angle A is 62, that means angle E is also 62. But right there, that tells me the measure of angle Z. So that's angle Z is 62 degrees. Alright, so now let's get down to business for the sides. So I need to consider one of these to be new and one of them to be old. So I'm going to choose this to be the new and this to be the old triangle. It doesn't really matter which. But what does matter is that you write your proportion in the form new over old is equal to new over old. Alright, just helps to ensure that you're doing both fractions in the same way. So you got to do corresponding sides. So for example, look at the squares, the x and the 18. So that's x over 18 equals. Now, when I do this other fraction, I need it to be all numbers, no variables. So I'm liking the circles. So I'm going to do 8 over 12, new over old. So that's 8 over 12. And now I should be able to solve this in order to find x. So first thing I'm going to do is reduce, because I like smaller numbers. Both of these are divisible by 4. So this reduces down to 2/3. Now I will cross multiply. So that's going to give me 3x. And when I do this diagonal, that gives me 36. And then if I divide both sides by 3, that gives me 12. So x is equal to 12. Now I'm going to do the same type of thing to find y. 2y minus 3 is inside a triangle. So it corresponds with the 14. Now I have to do new over old, so I'm going to do 14 over the 2y minus 3. Okay, now I can use the same 8 over 12 that I used last time. Okay, so I could put 8 over 12 right here, and just like last time, I know that's going to reduce down to 2/3. Again, it's the same numbers. So once again, I'm going to cross multiply. So if I do this diagonal, so that's going to be 2 times 2y minus 3. And then I do this diagonal. So that's 42. Little distributive property here gives me 4y minus 6 is equal to 42. Adding 6 to both sides, so I have 4y is equal to 48. Then if I divide both sides by 4, that gives me 12. That's interesting. X and y were both 12. Very interesting. It looks like they gave us the same picture, but they changed the order of the letters. So they're forcing us to pay attention, careful attention, to the similarity statement. So let's do it again. AB corresponds with DE. So here's AB, and here's DE. So far, so good. Now BC corresponds with EC. Okay, so here's BC, and here is EC. So those are corresponding. Okay, and finally AC corresponds with DC. All right, so AC corresponds with DC. Okay, now in the middle we have angle E and angle B, so those are corresponding. So angle B is 71, so that means angle E has got to also be 71. So that tells me that Z is 71 degrees. Okay, so that's out of the way. So now we need some equations. Okay, this is going to be real interesting. Alright, I don't think number 9 can actually be solved. I think whoever created this problem accidentally created a situation where we have too many variables in the equation. There's no way to solve this. So if I turn out to be wrong, I will have to come back and edit this video. So number 10, find the value of x and y. Okay, notice this is not a mid-segment, even though it kind of looks similar to a mid-segment problem, but this segment is not half of the parallel side, so I know this is not a mid-segment. So, what I have is two triangles. I have a small triangle, and then I have a bigger triangle. So, I recommend that you draw those two triangles separately. So, here is the small triangle. And now here is the bigger triangle. Okay, now let's see what we've got. So labeling the small triangle. So this side on the left is y, and this is 20, and this is 16. So that's great. I've just got everything. Okay, now the large triangle is trickier. This bottom piece here is definitely 30. Alright, I can see that right there. But this piece over here, you got to be careful. This is going to be y plus 12. Alright, you have to add these up. Similarly, I need to add these two up. Now, I'm going to erase this in a second, but I need to take 2x minus 3 and then I need to add 20. Alright, because I'm adding these together, just like I'm adding these together. But I've got like terms right here. So this is going to give me 2x plus 17. So that's what this is, 2x plus 17. Okay, so now we can go ahead and set up our proportions in the form new over old is equal to new over old. Let's see, I'll call this one old and I'll call this one new. Doesn't really matter, just got to choose. So let's see, if I want to go after the x value. So the corresponding sides are 2x plus 17 and 20. Now for my other fraction, I need all numbers, so I'm going to use the 30 over the 16, new over old every time. So this is going to give me 2x plus 17 over 20 is equal to, let's reduce this. Alright, it's just 15 over 8. And then now I will cross multiply. Okay, so I'm doing 8 times 2x plus 17 is equal to, alright, 20 times, what did I say I was doing? 15. $300. Alright, so once you do the distributive property, then you will have 16x plus 136 is equal to 300. Subtracting 136 from both sides, alright, that's going to leave me with 16x is equal to $164, and then I divide both sides by 16. And that's 10.25. Okay, now I need to do the same thing for the y values, which I'm going to do over here. Maybe I'll change colors just for fun. So if I'm going to go after the y values, I got my corresponding sides are y plus 12 and y itself. Got to do new over old. Okay, and now again I will use the 30 and the 16. 30 over 16 I already know will reduce down to 15 over 8. So I'm just going to skip straight to that. And then it is time to cross multiply. So if I multiply this diagonal, I've got 15y. Now if I do this diagonal, alright, I have to do 18 times y plus 12. So that's 15y is equal to 8y plus, so I've got 96, and then I'm going to subtract 8y from both sides. So that's going to give me 7y is equal to 96. And then I will divide both sides by 7. We are getting a decimal that would have to be rounded. So they didn't say we were allowed to round. So instead I'm going to have to use the fractional form. So I'm just going to leave it as 96/7. Alright, now we'll know we're allowed to use a rounded decimal if they say round to the nearest 2 decimal places if necessary or something like that. But they did not say that, so 96/7 it is. Number 11, PQ is a mid-segment. That means that PQ is half the length of the parallel side. So, for example, that means that if I double PQ, so if I do 2 times 3x plus 2, then it should now equal the parallel side, which is 8x minus 2. Alright, that's a property of a midsegment. Midsegment is half the length of the parallel side. If you double it, you get the parallel side. Okay, now they're equal. Anyway, a little distributive property here, and I get 6x plus 4 is equal to 8x minus 2. Let's subtract 6x from both sides. So that's going to be 4 is equal to 2x minus 2. Got to add the 2 to both sides, so I've got 6 is equal to 2x. Now I'm dividing by 2, and I get x is equal to 3. So, great. I now know that x is equal to 3. What else you want, man? Let's see. I want PQ. Well, I know that, whoops, started writing a B for some reason, not sure why. PQ is equal to the expression 3x plus 2. And now I know that x is 3, so that makes this 3 times 3 plus 2. So that's 9 plus 2, which is 11. So PQ is 11. Okay. LM. LM has got to be double PQ. So LM should be 22. Alright, what about LN? LN is this whole side. LN is 7x. But I know that x is 3, so that's 7 times 3, which of course is 21. So LN is 21. What about LP? Well, if PQ is a midsegment, then that means that point P is the midpoint of side LN. So that means that these two halves are congruent. So if the whole thing is 21, then half of 21 is 10.5. So that means that LP has got to be 10.5 and PN has to be 10.5, just splitting it 21 in half. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.